Welcome to the Explainer. So, over the last few days, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Apple, and Alphabet all dropped their latest earnings. And buried inside these massive data dumps is a literal market-defining signal for NVIDIA and, honestly, the entire AI industry. We're looking at a historic level of investment right now. So today, we're going to break down exactly what this means for the future of tech and why it absolutely matters to you. Section 1. The $700 billion signal. Big tech investment. All right, take a look at this first number, $41 billion. To put that into perspective, that's actually more than the GDP of a lot of countries. And Microsoft spent it on capital expenditures in a single quarter. Yeah, just one quarter, with roughly 2/3 of that directed primarily towards CPUs and GPUs. Then we've got Amazon. They just casually raised their 2026 capital spending plan to approximately $220 billion. I mean, that is just an enormous commitment to future infrastructure. Next up is Meta. They've updated their projections too, now expecting to spend at the absolute upper end of their infrastructure target. They're hitting between $130 billion and $145 billion for this year alone. And just to cap off this wild buildup, Alphabet actually increased their own capital expenditure forecast to somewhere between $195 billion and $205 billion. So when you combine all these figures, the scale is just breathtaking. These four companies are preparing to invest up to $745 billion by 2026. Now, while not every single one of those dollars goes directly into NVIDIA's pocket, this reveals an unstoppable momentum cycle for AI infrastructure. Section 2. The real AI question. Return on investment. So, what does this all mean? Well, the crucial question, the one the entire industry is asking right now, is this. Is AI actually generating enough revenue to justify this massive spending? Because if these giants are spending hundreds of billions without producing meaningful economic value, this whole cycle just collapses under its own weight. Let's play detective for a minute and track down the actual return on investment. Section 3. Monetizing the AI cloud. Cloud acceleration. Just look at these growth rates. Azure is up an extraordinary 43%, AWS up 37%, and Google Cloud is up a staggering 82%. These aren't just theoretical gains, right? These massive jumps prove the cloud market is expanding dramatically, and it's being driven directly by AI workloads. But here's the real so what of the situation. It's captured perfectly by a quote that was echoed across all these earnings reports. Customer demand continued to exceed available capacity. They aren't just building these massive server farms and hoping customers will show up someday. The customers are literally banging down the door. The capacity is being monetized almost instantly. And we can see this adoption happening in real time. Microsoft 365 Copilot just crossed 30 million paid seats, with net additions more than doubling sequentially. This proves AI isn't just some fun research project anymore. No, it is successfully moving into active production and daily enterprise use. Section 4. Ads, Search, and Silicon. Beyond the cloud. Take Meta, for instance. Their Q2 revenue was up 28%. Now, what's really fascinating here is that their massive infrastructure investment is absorbing almost all of their operating cash flow. It is incredibly capital intensive. Yet they're seeing real economic returns today through AI-improved targeting and higher user engagement. The AI is literally paying off in their core business. Now, you might be wondering about the competitive landscape. What about custom silicon, like Amazon's Trainium and Google's TPUs, versus the NVIDIA ecosystem? Well, custom chips are fantastic for predictable workloads, for sure, but NVIDIA offers unparalleled flexibility and cross-platform capabilities. The big takeaway here, the AI infrastructure market is growing so incredibly fast that it can easily support both those custom chips and NVIDIA's hardware. And hey, let's not forget Apple. While Apple processes a ton of AI directly on their own custom silicon right on the device, they are normalizing AI across billions of devices. And this is actually a surprising catalyst. As AI just becomes a normal, everyday interface, it drives developers to build way more complex applications. And those applications? They'll ultimately require more heavy model training and cloud inference, which indirectly feeds right back into NVIDIA's data center demand. Section 5. The NVIDIA Bull Case. A multi-part argument. So let's synthesize all this. Here are the first three pillars of that bull case. Number 1, demand still heavily exceeds supply. Number 2, monetization is highly visible across cloud and advertising revenues. And number 3, adoption is broadening. Microsoft actually noted that their contract backlog growth is coming from customers outside the small group of frontier AI labs. Mainstream enterprises and governments are the ones driving the demand now. Which actually leads us to a crucial shift, moving from AI training to AI inference. Think of training like building a dictionary. It's a massive, one-time effort. Inference, on the other hand, is every time someone looks up a word. Every single time an employee uses an AI assistant or runs a search query. That's inference. It happens billions of times a day, generating massive, recurring computing demand. And that completes our bull case. Number 4, this shift to inference extends demand for years to come. Number 5, NVIDIA has an integrated platform advantage. They don't just sell a chip, right? They sell accelerators, networking, and software libraries that are incredibly hard to replicate. And number 6, maybe the most dramatic piece of all, strategic game theory. Competitive necessity forces big tech to keep spending. Amazon literally can't stop because of Microsoft, and Google can't stop because of Meta. Slowing down could permanently damage their competitive position. Section 6. Risks and final verdict. Potential headwinds. Now, to be fair, we absolutely have to acknowledge the very real risks on the table here. There is the adoption of proprietary chips taking market share. We've got severe free cash flow pressures on the hyperscalers, exactly like we saw with Meta. There are physical constraints, too, like power, data center, and memory shortages. And finally, margin pressure as customers naturally seek out cheaper alternatives. These are all totally valid cautionary concerns. However, the current earnings unequivocally show that right now, customer demand is still vastly outpacing every single one of these constraints. Which brings us to our ultimate conclusion. Big tech is monetizing AI capacity faster than it can be built. The AI boom is not just alive, it is accelerating. As long as computing demand exceeds supply, NVIDIA remains squarely at the center of one of the most historic capital investment cycles ever. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought today. If big tech is truly monetizing AI faster than they can build the infrastructure for it, can anyone actually afford to stop spending? The gain theory makes this strategic competition nearly impossible to halt. It's a fascinating dynamic, and it's one that will absolutely reshape the tech landscape for years to come.